Hi everyone, welcome to our tech podcast series. Today we have Krishan with us. Hi Krishan, and he is the vice president of product at Apollo.io. He graduated from the University of California. And apart from that, after his education, he joined Oracle immediately as an enterprise sales development representative. And also, he's right now very much attached with he's currently working at Apollo, and his experience is really very amazing. So hello, Krishan, and I would be very happy to have your introduction.
Hey, yeah, Jeffy, thanks for inviting me here. As Jeffy mentioned, I'm our VP of product at Apollo. So really focused right now on building our teams who are responsible for maintaining and iterating upon our existing products, as well as innovating and building out entirely new categories that help increase the potential for our users to become wildly successful. So excited to be here and talk a little bit more about it.
That's amazing. So, I guess our listeners would be very much happy to know more about what is actually Apollo and what it is actually doing and how you are contributing to Apollo.
Yeah, definitely. So, for those that you don't know, Apollo's the leading B2B sales intelligence and engagement platform that's trusted by over 1 million users and over 160,000 companies globally. And these range from rapidly growing startups to some of the world's largest enterprises. But essentially, what we do is in one unified platform, we provide sales teams with easy access to a database of 50 million plus contacts with an intelligence layer that helps them identify who are their best potential customers, as well as supplying them with all the tools that they need to engage those prospects, turn them into buyers, and analyze their process to build something repeatable and sustainable to actually ensure that they're, taking their product to market. So long story short, we help turn prospects into customers by empowering salespeople to send the right messages to the right person at the right time.
That's actually pretty much amazing. And apart from that, how was your journey, and how you actually got started with it, how you got to know about Apollo?
Yeah, it's actually I had a very interesting non-traditional journey where I actually used to be in sales myself back at a big company called Oracle. A lot of you probably know. And at that time, the reason why I wanted to leave Oracle is because I did extremely well as a sales rep. But what I realized is that big companies like that, like you're not able to really grow to your full potential. You have to, stay in a certain role for a year and a half, where you can then try the next thing, and your scale of impact is just extremely narrow. So I was looking at different companies, and Apollo, which was then called Zen Prospect, came to the top of my list because out of a list of 20 companies, I did a lot of research to understand what they do, look at their websites, look at their customer testimonials, and so on. And I realized that what Apollo was offering was something that myself and my entire team needed out of Oracle. Where if we had that solution at Oracle, our entire team would be able to triple their ability to hit their goals. So I figured if I'm going into this company as a salesperson, I can sell this in my sleep because I see the value. It's no brainer. So then I joined Apollo. Initially started in sales. Did extremely well there for the first year and a half. But I think personally, I got a little bit bored of sales, where it's every month you're kind of doing the same thing. You get your commission check and it's great, and then you know exactly what you need to do the next month. But what I really loved early on in my life is building things to last, and kind of having your baby that you're continuing to build upon, and seeing seeing the payoff in not just a 1 month basis, but in a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year horizon. So I was initially interested in figuring out different opportunities within the company where I can do that. And our CEO was actually had a position open for a growth product manager at the time. And although I had no experience in product management or growth at all, because of our interactions and our relationship up until that point, he felt like he was willing to take the chance and take the bet on me to go into that position. And once I did, I've listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts, went through a bunch of different Reforge courses, read hundreds of hours of blog articles, books, and so on, to really just get ramped up really quickly. And from there, I was responsible for building out the first PLG product at Apollo, and eventually took responsibility for all of product management at Apollo and shifted us towards a product-led company where now 70% of our revenue comes through self-serve, whereas at the very beginning we had 0% of our revenue coming through self-serve. So that's a little bit about my journey.
That's pretty much amazing. Like I really loved like your journey, and also like how you changed your domain. So while you were shifting from sales to product, like what were the challenges that you have faced? You might have been thinking a lot more about it. You like your people you have in your surroundings might have told you that okay, you are not doing the right thing. So like any challenges that you have faced while changing your domain?
Yeah, the really interesting thing was that I think I've always been someone who embraces the mindset of being like a student always. So I think that it didn't feel too challenging because I was just spending hours and hours. Anytime I was about to do something, I spent a lot of time before that learning best practice ways to do that thing. And made sure to be really open to feedback and trying to always understand like what I could be doing better. So like, yeah, there were things that I was, that I got as feedback on, like things to improve on early on, but I didn't see that as challenging because that feedback just helps you figure out how to get better. I think that what did eventually get challenging is once I got to the point of owning a lot of different departments. So we had the design team, the research team, the growth team, and the product team all kind of rolling up to me. And it was an org of like 20 people, but without much other like high level leadership. I think that got extremely challenging, starting to figure out how do you go from being the individual contributor to being like a manager of a small team to like being able to scale an org. And I think scaling an org, it's incredibly important that you hire the best people and are able to empower them. And I think that was probably the biggest shift that was a little bit more ambiguous than, how do I learn how to do better quantitative analysis or, do better research and get qualitative data and, all those types of things.
That's so true, and also I really love the way you actually shared like your domains that you were managing at the starting, and also how things changed and how you actually worked on the scale and on the team at the same time. So in that case, like as you mentioned, like previously you were managing so many staff, so many teams. So what are your current responsibilities as a vice president of the product, and also how it looks like to the people who see? How is it?
Yeah, so now it's changed, which is great because we've hired a VP of growth, VP of design. We've hired a head of research who's still on my team, but we've hired more higher level leadership, so there's less like individual management of like 20 different people. But really, what my role today entails is building empowered teams that are responsible for figuring out how we become the number one product to help our users become successful is like really what it boils down to. And I think what that looks like is identifying new opportunities of things that we can build that can both increase our total addressable market and increase our users to be successful in a way that nobody else can by leveraging our unique, competitive advantages. And then I think two is, making sure that from what we've already built, we're maintaining it, we're building upon it, iterating upon it. Because one thing that's unique about Apollo is that we're a compound product where we don't just do sales intelligence, we don't just do sales engagement, we don't just do analytics, but because we have these multiple different products in different spaces, we're always trying to think about how do you make one of those products 5 times better or 10 times better because of the adjacent products you have in your portfolio. So for example, any sales engagement product, you might see a company like Outreach or SalesLoft that has bare bones, sequences, dialer, all those things you need to connect with someone. And when you look at their analytics, it's going to show you, here's open rates, click rates, and so on. But for us, because we have a sales intelligence product, we're trying to figure out, how do we use the data that we have on everyone you're emailing to say, we're going to help you automatically personalize some of your messages, or we're going to help you figure out who else should you add to this sequence based on who you're doing well with, or we're going to help you figure out, where is your messaging resonating by company size, by persona, by industry, and so on, because we're able to leverage our adjacent product to help enrich all the information that we have in our sales engagement product and make it even better. So I think that what our team is focused on is figuring out, how do you actually build something that's going to help our users become more successful than they would be with any platform? That's always our North Star. But on product management in particular, it's really important that they work to facilitate collaboration across a team of engineers and designers and researchers and product analysts and product marketers to brainstorm together and figure out together how to reach that goal. I think that's extremely important at Apollo, especially, is that when we think about an engineer or a designer, we don't think about them as someone that just does a task. We think about them as someone that has a really unique vantage point and perspective to bring to a team, where we want them to be empowered to have just as much ownership and over the key metrics that they're moving and the user experiences that they're building and so on.
That was very insightful for our listeners, I'm pretty much sure, because these are these are few pointers that you need to keep in your mind whenever you are working on the product, and also working with a team as well at the same time. So in that case, if you could share some more tips for the people who are also working on some product, it would be really great. And also would be very happy to know how things change and how your responsibilities change when you were working on the product in the starting, and or we can say versus when your product is in the market. So the responsibilities are very much different. So if you could share that, so it would be really great.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I can start with the latter, which is like how things change when you're working on products in the early phases versus once things are out in the market. So I think it really there's a few pieces to this. So one is, what is the most important metric on that product early on? And to me, it is adoption and retention. But retention really is where it starts. Where when we're building a new product, what we're thinking of is, even if I have a human that is like walking, holding the hand of every user that's walking through this product, can I onboard this person onto a product that once they're onboarded, they want to continue using this 6 months later, 12 months later, 2 years later, and so on? And if so, where are if not, where are they dropping off? Are they dropping off at 1 month? If they are dropping off at 1 month, let's talk to every single one of those people to start to understand why they're dropping off. For the people that aren't dropping off, let's talk to all those people to understand why they're not dropping off. And you're really in this deep learning phase, but I think a lot of the focus is around retention, because you need to build a product that has value, long-term value for a customer. And how they get to learning the product matters a lot less, because all you need to do is make sure that you have product market fit, which is there's true value there, true long-term value there for your customer. Once you've established that, and once you have a product where it's even if you're walking, hand holding the user through getting set up, they're retained, that's when adoption becomes incredibly important. Because when you want to start scaling a product, you want to be able to make sure that it's a lot more expensive to say every single user I bring on, I need to pay someone from my team to walk them through using the product, versus can I get them to use this product and get to that same value where they become retained without ever talking to a human from my side. So I think activation becomes the most important part after you figure out the retention problem. From that side, there's two different avenues you can go, and I think it's either paid conversion or acquisition. So it's how do I get way more people into the top of the funnel to start activating? And then, once those users are retained and activated and so on, how do I make sure they turn into paid users down the road as well? Obviously, like, you need to make sure that, like, in your MVP stages, like, there is some willingness to pay, but like how much you charge is less important. So you're not trying to maximize the dollar value at that point. You're trying to maximize the long-term retention of the user. But I think that once you feel good about your retention, your activation, that's when it's interesting to start playing around with. Now we know we've built something that's incredibly valuable. How much value can we get out of this for our business as well, rather than just the user's business and so on. So I think that's a little bit about how things changes. And I think in the early days when you have less users, there's a lot more qualitative reliance on qualitative data, where, like, yes, you use quantitative data to figure out that there is a drop off with one high level metric, but you're not going to be able to investigate that really deeply when you only have 100 users or 200 users. But once you get to scale, for us, we have hundreds of thousands of users. Quantitative data gives us a lot of insights much more quickly than qualitative data will in some other cases. So we usually start now with the quantitative data to figure out, where are the biggest gaps and the biggest levers for, really impacting our North Star metrics. And then based on those gaps, how do we start to leverage qualitative data or research to figure out why those gaps exist or how to capitalize on those opportunities and so on.
That was really amazing, and it was very much insightful. And like, moving with that, when you are working on the product, so in that case, you have to work along with all the teams. It would be marketing, it would be sales, and all the other teams. So in that case, there might be days when there are some miscommunication, or something happens like that, and you have to make changes at the last moment because the marketing team said that, okay, this is not working, so you just need to change the stuff. So how you actually cope up with those situations, and how to like, manage everything with the other teams?
Yeah, so I think there's different sides. So there's like the go to market, and then there's R&D. So on the go to market side, honestly, I think for marketing, there's usually not going to be anything that marketing says that's going to make us have like a major change, other than like, hey, we might want to change the launch date for something because we have materials ready. And usually in those cases, we'll do a soft launch where we still like launch a product, get some data, but then we'll delay a marketing launch. We don't think that the product launch and marketing launch have to be on the same day necessarily. But with sales, I think this is where it comes into play, where especially once you start to have a product that is in the market and has a lot of users, and like with customer success as well, then you'll start to get all these requests to say like, hey, this customer of yours like wants to churn to a competitor that has this feature, like, can we build this feature? Or, hey, like, we're losing deals because of this, like, can we build this feature? And I think in the very early days, we're still trying to establish product market fit. We'll definitely only take requests that we see are like frequent. I think now that we've gotten to a place that we have a lot of product market fit, and so like we still take the same approach, but what we've done is we've scaled out our mechanism of getting feedback. So instead of just talking to our sales leaders or customer success managers and so on, we've built out this database where it says anytime we lose a deal and anytime a customer churns, what is the reason why? Who did they churn to, or who did we lose to? What is the product reason why, if there is a product reason why? And then we see how much ARR is associated with this, what is the company size and the actual company, and the raw feedback, and the person who left this feedback, and so on. So now every product manager for their surface, they have a list of like, here are the top reasons people are churning or losing deals because of something that's related to your surface. They can prioritize that list based on ARR lost or churned, based on the number of customers lost and churned, and so on, to start figuring out which one of these should I actually take on. So we rarely do something that we're only taking on a request for like one customer. Maybe if they're within our top 5 largest customers, then we'd be willing to do that, but we still want to like stretch timelines on it. But really then what it comes down to is prioritizing it against what you already have. And we like to use the RICE framework, which is reach, impact, confidence, and effort, to start to figure out, what is going to, how can some of these items that we're getting requests from on the sales and customer success side, what is the impact of that based on the effort that's going to be put in versus, all these other things that we have on our backlog right now. We try to negotiate timelines with customers and prospects and so on to try to figure out the right balance. Because at the end of the day, we want our users to love us. We want our users to be successful. And if they're not able to be successful, with Apollo, so we count churn data as like more important than close loss data. But if there are reasons that they're churning because they weren't able to become successful with the product, we have, when it comes back to the RISE framework, there's 100% confidence that like this will make an impact. But we're really looking at the magnitude of the impact, how many people it can impact, and the effort associated with fixing this.
Thanks a lot for sharing such an amazing like ideas and also amazing tips with our listeners, because again it's very much important to understand the product and also to work along the teams and to manage everything very nicely.
One thing I'd love to just chime in there with is just to mention that we're hiring very much across the board
Oh,
in India right now. And I think we're really looking for a lot of talented engineers who want to make an impact, who are able to understand complex code, but also are more than just, an engineer itself. You're core contributors to building a product, to making impact on a business. And I think it's a really exciting place to be for engineers. So I hope that we're able to, you know, ad- have some of you join our interview sessions and so on, because really excited to be growing in India.
that's so amazing. So, I would be adding all the links in the description below, and you all can just check them out. And also, apart from that, as you mentioned that you are hiring, so how have you thought of expanding in India, or what's your plan?
Yeah, definitely. So, as I mentioned earlier in the call, like 70% of our revenue right now comes from people that never talk to humans, which means that on our side, investing in engineering, product design, research, analytics is one of the most important parts to invest in our business. And although there's an economic downturn on a macro, scale right now, Apollo's in a really good place where we're growing and we're thriving, and we want to be doubling down on those strengths. So we are hiring across the board on when it comes to EPD, but we're really looking for our really strong engineers that are going to be able to pick up things quickly, read complex code, but also act as collaborative owners of the service. So they're not just taking tasks from a product manager, but they're trying to figure out what should we build and why should we build it and how can we be influencing these metrics in the quickest way and so on. And I think the third thing is we always want to bring on people that are also like magnets, where other people want to work with them as well, because they're great, they're seen as great people, and from both what they're able to do and their potential, as well as like not having super high ego or like not being extremely difficult to work with, not difficult to work with, but like people like to work with good people. So I think that part's also extremely important.
That's so true. That's so true. And I'm very much sure that it's gonna be very much amazing for the listeners as well, because they got an amazing opportunity from just listening this podcast, and they got to know that you are hiring, and it will be an amazing golden opportunity for them. And as I just saw that it's remote, so obviously they can have the flexibility to work from home, for some roles, and also it's going to be an amazing experience, as from this podcast they understood that how actually the team is. So they got a glance about it. And also I'm looking forward to see how it's gonna be in future, and how Apollo will be working across the globe. So looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, definitely excited for us to build a lot more name recognition out in India and other parts of the globe. So yeah, please do look out for us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surely gonna look at it, and also, yeah, thanks a lot for joining in, and it was really amazing having you today. We talked about a lot of things, and especially about product. That was very much great for our listeners. I'm pretty much sure about it, and also whenever it comes about product, we talk about the marketing, sales, and also the other teams. So it's wholesome, a very great experience for me to have you today.
Awesome. Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much for inviting me here, Chubby. And yeah, really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And yeah, stay tuned for such podcasts. Have a great day.